welcome to our Friday Flex. What's undulating, everybody? Uh, this is Keith, and of course Joseph's here. And so, for those who have been watching previously, we've been talking about different modalities. The modality means ways of perception, or the senses, pretty much for the most part, and different ways on how to use the technology from NLP in order to help us on our day-to-day kind of activities. And so a couple weeks ago we did an exercise, and that exercise was to allow those who've had some type of uncomfortable, traumatic experience to reframe the experience in which to be able to tolerate or to sleep or to be at ease or to neutralize the effects of it. And so we're going to share another exercise today. The circle of influence is what it's called. If you look up online NLP and circle of influence, if that's something, after we explain how to do it, that's something you want to learn, you can definitely look online to figure out how to utilize it, the steps, instead of having to watch this video over and over again until you get it. But I mean, we appreciate it, you know. But one of the benefits of this exercise is that for those who have some type of difficulty performing, whether it's professionally or personally, it allows you to be in a position in which you feel the ability to properly perform. And so we all have different reasons why in certain areas we just feel nervous, we feel uncomfortable, we feel that, you know, we don't have it. And this exercise will kind of empower us in order to be able to do that thing which we wanted to do. And like we spoke about last week, there are certain things in our upbringing and that kind of mold us, they give us these certain likes and dislikes, or certain fears, and certain fears become unlocked. So this type of experience that we naturally feel on a regular basis, due to what we put in our ears, what we experience. I remember, just kind of side note, still on this topic, but I was watching this documentary yesterday on the cartels in Mexico, and I was, you know, I'm not sure how Vice News was able to get such up close footage, but it was graphic. It was extremely graphic. It was kind of seared in my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, after, there was one scene I'm not going to explain, but I thought to myself, why am I watching this? Like, I already know that that's not something I want to do, but I was like, why am I watching this kind of negativity? And it stuck with me. And I actually had to think about, okay, in order for me to neutralize this image that I saw in my head, I have to use some type of technology to do that. But so many things that we have come across on a day-to-day basis that are steadily putting kind of permanent placeholders in our mindset. And those things, depending on what they are, can excuse me, prohibit us from doing things. Like, for example, if I, not knowing that, yes, there are areas all over the world that are not good, but not allowing what I saw to make me feel like, okay, so if I go down here, this is automatically going to happen. I remember the first time that I went to Mexico, and of course Americans were like, oh, don't wear all this jewelry. I don't wear much jewelry anyway, but they were like, oh, you know, you'll get snatched. And mind you, I know it happens, but it was like it was only under certain circumstances in which it does happen. It's just not like a random thing. Most often it's a plotted thing. So anyway, I didn't allow that experience from what people said to influence me going down there, and I had like the best time of my life going down to Mexico. But it's those things in which we hear from other people that can somehow change how we think. And those, that change of thought can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who we're hearing it from,
right,
and what that person's intentions are. Because most of the time, that people have good intentions for the most part.
Most part, but some don't.
Yeah. And so sometimes we can be, as Jim Rohn says, sincerely wrong.
Sincerely wrong.
You know, so so when we are hearing people's perspectives, even if it's through TV, we have to be able to properly understand it and look at it.
And be able to cut through the garbage.
Right.
And see what is the actual message being presented. Maybe it's the tone of voice that is being used in terms of how it's presented. May not be so attractive or well received by us, but maybe the actual message that's being presented is what we're needing, you know, kind of thing. But before we continue on, just had a quick housekeeping question.
Housekeeping, all right.
In regards to hearing, I just want to make sure everyone is hearing us in can't say TV land, because I'm used to seeing like little bars come up there that show that it's.
Can you all hear me? If you all can hear us, please press like or something, because we're not sure if we're being heard. I think
this is the first time I'm not seeing those little lines.
Okay, we got. Oh, all right.
You can hear us?
Yes. All right.
Can you hear me now? Okay, cool.
So, all right. Before, yeah, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
In short, in terms of just hearing, as you were rightly pointing out, the fact that there are some individuals who, when they present something, their intentions, because most people have generally good intentions. I was just mentioning sometimes that how it's presented may not always be well received by us. But of course, that's according to time, place, and circumstances as well. Someone can say, if someone is driving a car and they're falling asleep at the wheel, you can't just sit there and say, there, it's all right.
Wake up.
You wake up.
Has to be like, was it School Days? What movie was it?
Wake up! You know, at the end of the movie with Lawrence Fishburne. Yes. A Spike Lee joint, you know. So according to time, place, and circumstances, you know, the tone of voice is important, how it's presented. But just being able to cut through the garbage, meaning to be able to understand what is the actual message being presented, try to understand the, you could say, agenda or intentions of the person. And then if you're in a position to ask questions, definitely inquire further into the subject matter so that you know that you're getting the information, like that you're understanding the information that's being presented. Because sometimes someone could say something that's so vague, your imagination can run wild and you can go in any direction. And, you know, so many people misunderstand certain things when they do not inquire or ask questions. So just being able to inquire and make sure that you heard it properly is important.
Yeah, and these experiences that we have, sometimes, depending on how difficult they can be, will prevent us from doing certain things. So I know some people have a difficulty with public speaking because they may have heard, oh, it's so scary, all these people, and they're going to look at you, or you're going to make mistakes.
Or they're gonna laugh at you.
They're gonna laugh at you.
If you know that movie, it's an old one.
Yeah,
They're gonna
yeah.
laugh at you, Barbara. They're gonna laugh at you.
Yeah. So these things we experience, and from what somebody else said or somebody else has done, then it puts this kind of mark or puts a pin on the map, our mental map, and therefore when we're in this position, we're like, oof, I remember that I was told this wasn't good.
Yeah.
So there's an exercise we're going to do here. Joseph will explain the exercise of what's called the Circle of Excellence, and it's a exercise in which allows you to put the power back in your hands. As Captain Planet would say, the power is yours. So please, yeah.
All right, well, it's morphin' time. Transformers. So the Circle of Excellence, in short, as you have rightly stated, it does give you the power. I got the power. So it puts the power back in your hands. It puts you back in your groove, for lack of better words. It's perfect in a situation where you're not feeling enthusiastic. You are either hesitant or afraid or nervous, or for whatever reason, there's some reluctance or something where you're not in your groove, where things are not flowing for you, and where you're not feeling, again, upbeat, positive, and wanting to, hey, let's do this. We can do this, positive and confident about yourself. So the Circle of Excellence, in short, the exercise itself, it requires a couple of things. First thing, it requires you to be relaxed. And it requires you to think about a time when you were feeling positive about a specific task that you've done in the past, where you were feeling energetic, you were flowing, things were just coming together and just falling right into place.
You had the Bruce Leroy glow.
Yes,
Showed
the
up.
Last Dragon.
Yeah.
Child showed up.
Yeah.
Exactly. I guess I do have that Bruce Lee glow. So, yes, everything is working out just the way it planned, as the way you planned, and you're just like, this is awesome. I'm excited. I'm feeling great. And so, the exercise requires you to think of that time. And when you're really feeling that moment in terms of what was actually happening and how everything is just coming together, it seems like people are wanting to help you, and everything is just, the resources that you need, everything is just coming together so beautifully. And just, again, how you're feeling, happy, enthusiastic, you don't feel stressed, you don't feel any anxiety. And it requires you to take that experience, how you're feeling that glow and everything, and to imagine a circle on the floor in front of you. And that circle could be any color that you want it to be. It could be blue or yellow or green or purple. It could have like a little shimmer or sparkle in the circle, almost like as if you're imagining a hula hoop on the floor in front of you. Just to give you a rough idea, if it's hard to imagine a circle, just imagine a hula hoop on the floor in front of you, and any color that you desire it to be, and whether it has sparkles and shimmers and so on and so forth. And to imagine yourself stepping into that circle with all of your enthusiasm and positivity, and just for a moment feeling it in that circle, and then being able to, as if it was a body of armor, or as if in the wintertime how you wear a jacket, the triple down.
Carhartt.
Or Carhartt. And just imagine taking off that beautiful energy and positivity and creativity and flow that you're feeling and leaving it in that circle. Again, as if it's a uniform or like a superhero uniform, if you want to visualize it in that way. And just stepping out of it, of that circle. And so now you should be able to be out of the circle and you can see that, out that superhero uniform, for lack of a better word, that cape of excellence, just right there. The exercise requires you to think of another time that you felt everything was going very well, you were feeling confident, and you're feeling all the support that you're needing, all the resources were there. And again, just feeling and reliving that experience, your happiness, how calm you're feeling, just relaxed and at ease. You don't feel tense, you don't feel stressed out, but just, And so experiencing and reliving, again, another moment, and then being able to step back into that circle of excellence and add that to the amazing feeling that you had experienced in the first thought, and adding that, stepping back into that circle and adding that to that experience. And then after you've completed that, and leaving all that wonderful energy and positivity and creativity and flow in that circle, step out of it one more time and think of the task that you may have coming up. Could be a presentation, could be an interview, it could be that conversation that you need to have with a family member, a friend, or a loved one. We need to talk. And so thinking about that upcoming event or responsibility that you have, and instead of allowing the anxiety or stress to overwhelm you from the upcoming activity that you have coming up, being able to step back into that circle, put on that uniform or that superhero outfit of excellence, almost like morphin' time. Put your glow back on, put your cape back on. And then with that feeling, go into your upcoming task, again, whether it's a presentation or a conversation that you need to have with someone. And the NLP, they point out that this is actually a type of spatial anchor, and that we should be able, you can, I'll put it that way, that you actually can go back to that circle of excellence. Recall all those times that you had that positive feeling, and you have that cape to put on anytime you need, whenever you have to address anything, again, whether it's an interview, whether you have to talk to someone, times when you have to use your voice, anything of that nature, that you can always go back to that circle, put on that amazing cape, let your soul glow, and work your stuff,
Yeah. No, I think, and a couple things I wanted to add, and I'll share my own experience, using the exercise, is that you can put as many wonderful experiences inside the circle. Mm-hmm. And
you're encouraged to keep adding too.
Yeah, you're encouraged to keep adding, because the stronger, the more positive, the more empowering, the more motivational experiences you've personally had it within your life, that you're able to take and put inside this circle. I like you said, a hula hoop.
It's easy to visualize that.
Put a hula hoop on the floor and put all, Yeah. So you can add, the more you add, the stronger the circle is. Mm-hmm. And because this is neurolinguistic programming, our mind is like a computer. So we are going to put all those thoughts and those programs into the circle. And every time we go into the circle, we're going to feel even more capable of doing this task.
Like Thanos.
Like Thanos.
Yes.
So I'll share my experience with it. So I used to watch Dragon Ball Z a lot as a kid. I was that kid. So I would think about, when I first learned about this exercise, I would think about, okay, what did I like the most about Dragon Ball Z, right? So it was the electric sound that would be made when one of the characters would, increase their power. And so I was like, okay, so I need that, the color change. So I was like, in my circle of influence, my circle had the outline is like this electric yellow, and it makes like this popping kind of noise, like electricity does.
Like fried chicken.
Exactly, like fried chicken. So it makes this sound, and then I put all the experiences when I was in football, and I tackled somebody, and people were like, yeah, that's great. I put all these different moments in my life inside this circle, so that when I needed to recall it, I just felt, yes, I can do this. And after you've done it like a few times, and you see the potency or the ability of this type of this exercise, you learn that you can move this circle wherever you are. It's not like this stationary thing that's stuck here. You move the circle, you imagine like the circle's like right where you are, so I'm gonna step in this place.
Like Doctor Strange, just be like,
exactly.
And just step inside that circle of excellence.
So you can do that with this circle, and it can be done anytime, any situation in which is somewhat difficult, because we're always experiencing some level of difficulty in life. There's really no way around it. And so for those that feel like they want to put themselves in a position of power or motivate themselves, become self-motivated, then this circle of influence is something that would be wonderful to add to your repertoire of exercises in which to do. And just to clarify, the times we do or may feel hesitant or reluctant may be actual times where it's necessary, and so it's not one of those things where you want to not look at the gravity of a situation, or not to think about, okay, maybe I shouldn't jump off a 2-story building and try to do a roll, and then, whatever our goal may be.
Unless you are a professional, daredevil, or a stunt man or stunt woman, or you're doing professional parkour.
Yeah, something like that.
That's one thing, but you're not supposed to, think that you can fly.
Exactly. Shots fired.
I'm Superman.
Okay, so I'll give you a little backstory behind it. Did I share this on?
No.
Okay. So it wasn't the highest point in my life, but well, I guess maybe it was.
Whoa, here we go.
So as a child, we all have exaggerated claims of what we think we can do.
Yes.
And our ideas of life are so grand that we think we can do anything. And so I know Mom's probably gonna hear this later, but I thought, okay, mind you, may not have been a teenager yet, but this is when I was living in Detroit, and I was watching a lot of animated and shows about flying, And so I figured, I said, okay, now's my time. Everybody's downstairs. And so I went upstairs, I locked the bathroom door, and I was like, Mom, I'm gonna fly out this window, right? And Mom was like, no, don't do it. I was like, I got it, you know? Worst case scenario, if I jump out the window, I'll hit a bush. And so this idea that I had was innocent, sincere, but sincerely wrong. And so there's like this negotiation, almost like a hostage negotiation situation that happened in the bathroom, where I was holding myself hostage, and my mom was trying to free me from not jumping out of the window, thinking that I could fly. And of course, as a child, you don't have these, kind of abilities to know, okay, gravity works, and fast. Especially, and I was a little chubby little boy, so the gravity would happen faster. and so I fortunately, call it God's grace, call it whatever you want. My mom talked me out of jumping off the second floor, trying to fly into the bushes. And at that point, now mind you, this was decades ago, but I still remember this. But I think to myself, here's what could happen without properly understanding the gravity of a situation.
Yeah.
And so this circle of influence is to help one in the professional life or personal life. Yes. And at the same time, if it is a situation which there needs to be caution, then we have to operate within that circle of caution.
Just like driving a car, you have to follow the rules of the road,
Right.
Just because it may appear that if you just speed up a little bit, you can probably squeeze in between those two vehicles, doesn't mean that you should do that. Someone did that to me the other day in a white van.
Got the color, got the license plate too?
Almost. But just, obviously that person had some courage from somewhere, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't from their circle of excellence or influence. But yes, you are correct in that it has to be used with caution, and care should be used in one's professional life, should be used in one's relationships, so that they can improve the relationship that they have with others to become more effective and efficient in their communication. It should not be used for, again, things that could put not only yourself at harm, but, of course, what to speak of putting others at risk for injury or some type of fatality. So we have to be cautious.
Yeah.
We have to use proper discretion.
Discernment, all these other things. And I think about those that have this exaggerated estimation of their ability. Mm-hmm. And I think in the Vedas it talks about, the yoga text, it talks about and we've mentioned it before, the four propensities that all human beings have. The propensity to make mistakes, being illusioned, imperfect senses, and we have the propensity to cheat or be cheated. And sometimes mistakes, we make mistakes all the time. And so proper discretion has to be there.
Right.
And there is, last week we were talking about the different motivation strategies to motivate you towards something or away from something. Mm-hmm. And so actually Tony Robbins was the one that I remember hearing mention that. Of course, his understanding came from NLP, but it was mentioned that sometimes those things we move away from, those, we'll say negative things that we move away from, those are beneficial. Just like
for example, criticism. Because nobody wants to be criticized.
Right, especially if it's destructive criticism.
Especially if it's destructive. But there is a such thing called constructive criticism.
Right.
In which the premise is that someone who legitimately cares is sharing something with you that you may not feel is the most palatable to hear. Mm-hmm. And generally, I don't know how many of us are realistically open to constructive criticism to a point where we're just like, I really appreciate you said my lips are ashy every time I come in on Friday. Because some people appreciate that kind of criticism, right? And so,
hey, maybe he was eating a powdered donut. I don't know.
But constructive criticism, if it's meant to help, is always wonderful. And so it allows you to look at a situation and reflect.
Yeah. And when you receive constructive criticism, you don't feel as though you were being put down or beat up verbally and emotionally, but you actually feel lifted. You feel enthused. You feel like, you know what? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't know I was actually doing that. Yeah. You just saved my life. And in a lot of ways, actually, it could save someone's life, depending on what they're doing.
Yeah, or relationship.
Or the relationship as well. Mm-hmm. So constructive criticism is always, should be welcome. We should always welcome it. Therefore, we have to be open.
Yeah.
To receiving it.
And so this idea, so in NLP, both types of experiences, whether good or bad experiences, are usable as far as allowing us to become more empowered. Yes. And it allows us to be better in our perspective relationships, whether professionally or personally. But I mean, just think about how many of those of you all who are listening can say that when I hear criticism, I think about, is any part of this true? Is any part of this something that I feel I can work on? Or is it just, I don't want to hear it, I'm done, this is just, Yeah. And because we also have to be honest with ourselves in that process, because if we operate in such a fashion where whatever anybody says that's opposed to how I feel about myself, then I'm not going to listen to them. And those individuals are extremely dangerous in society, menace to society, while drinking one's juice in the hood. And so if we can be honest with ourselves and think, last time somebody said something that I didn't like but was helpful, and I didn't listen, I really messed that up. Or I really messed up a situation, or
you messed up.
You messed up, exactly.
In the words of Jim Rohns.
And I can think of there many times in which, in my personal life, that at a lower level of thought and mental capacity, I heard somebody say something about me that was not something I thought about myself, but come to find out later, the resentment I had towards that person was unfounded because what they were saying was true, or there was elements of truth to it. And the adult aspect of ourselves is we have to be able to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about regarding criticism and this aspect of cheating tied in with a level of maturity and how serious one is or how driven one is to be the best version of themselves. And when we are lazy, complacent, and we think that we have it all figured out, that there's nothing more that we can learn, that our cup is full, basically, then we tend to close our ears because we think that we're amazing and perfect. And we have this ego and arrogance about ourselves. And we are not, our ears are not open to hearing any advice or constructive criticism from someone. Because our mind, in terms of if we're in that mindset, first thing we immediately do is generalize. Oh, you just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Envious or is hating on,
Jealous, yeah.
or jealous.
Yeah.
So again, we generalize it and then immediately delete it. There's no distortion at all.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
delete it.
delete.
Like, I'm not hearing it.
Yeah.
But if one actually really wants to improve themselves, take someone like Michael Jordan, just as one example. For him to become such an amazing basketball player, he had to be open to receiving criticism, you know, whether it's from his coach or from himself, to see how he can improve in certain areas of the game so that he is successful not only on the court, but even what to speak of even outside of, off the court, you know. So another example, because my degree is in environmental sciences and geology and so forth, you take a lump of coal. When coal experiences low-grade metamorphism, low-grade meaning low temperature, low pressure, it just remains a lump of coal. In short, you might get graphite at the most out of it, pencil lead. But when that same lump of coal experiences high-grade metamorphism, and of course, the word metamorphism, to go through a metamorphosis or a change. Because if we're wanting to grow, we're going to metamorphose to something bigger and better, just like a caterpillar will go through a metamorphic stage to become a butterfly. So when that lump of coal is experiencing intense heat and intense pressure, it becomes a diamond. Something of great value. And then when a geologist, or specifically a mineralogist, comes across that diamond, what else do? They will cut the diamond so that different facets or faces or sides are exposed. So then when you finally see that diamond in a jewelry store, you can see all of its beauty, all of its wonderful qualities. Becomes something beautiful, amazing. They're so expensive, right? The third example I'll give is in regards to clay. If you are a potter and you're working with clay, the clay has to be kneaded, has to be pounded sometimes, has to be put into a very hot kiln. Sometimes it has to go through other different steps and processes in order for it to become a very strong piece of pottery. It could be a teacup, or it could be anything, you know, a plate. It could be a pot for, you know, or a vase or a vase. But it has to go through a lot of, you can say, heat and kneading and pounding and mixing and all these different things so that it comes out as being a very strong, durable. Otherwise, if it doesn't go through those steps, through those different tests, then it becomes very fragile and brittle. And so, again, with criticism, especially if it's constructive criticism, or if we are having a bad experience is only a bad experience if we don't learn from it. Because it's truly a growth opportunity. And you can have yourself a little growth spurt.
Yeah.
And so we can take what appears to someone else to be a bad situation and make it into a good bargain, just like lemons. You can make lemonade. So you can take a situation, maybe it was maybe you had a presentation that just didn't go right. Maybe you're just too nervous. Maybe it just didn't resonate with your audience. You know, the subject matter. Maybe it just didn't resonate with the audience or something. But being able to, especially if you have a chance to have it recorded, and you can look over the tape to see what you were doing, how you were standing, how were you interacting, were the examples relevant? Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Maybe the subject matter were just too lofty. Maybe we didn't do a good job of addressing our audience, you know, properly. You know, what type of individuals are we having in our audience? If they're a bunch of first graders, then you have to go with a certain approach. You can't use big lofty words like undulate. Shots fired at myself. You have to use something, you know, something more understandable like waving, you know, ripples or something like that. So the point is we can take and learn from any situation, a good example, a good positive experience, or even a bad experience. And we can learn from any type of construction, any type of criticism. We can use that, and like you were pointing out earlier, being able to think about it carefully, like, okay, now this information that the person is sharing with me, I understand that maybe this person is saying this because they actually care about me. That they are trying to protect me in some way, shape, or form. Open my eyes to something that I did not see or understand. Because again, as human beings, our senses are not perfect. And we also have that cheating propensity. So there may be things that we purposefully try to avoid, right? Naturally. I'm just saying, there's sometimes there's certain things that we do that we try to, what some may call turn the other cheek or ignore when it's something that needs to be actually addressed or considered. And so to, again, have an open mind and to be able to look at things from different perspectives, because perhaps someone sees something that we cannot see that will actually benefit us and help us move on to the next level. Because growth, it's all about graduating. It's about being able to learn while we're at this point or phase in life, and then being able to take the next step forward and continue to graduate and move and progress further in any aspect of life. Again, it could be relationships, it could be work in terms of being productive at work, or moving up the corporate ladder, whatever it is that you desire to do in life. Just knowing that, again, we as human beings actually have the power. It's not that we allow someone to take the power from us. And that's the beauty of this circle of excellence, that we actually have the power. I got the power. And that we can always remind ourselves of that. And sometimes one thing I like doing with the circle of excellence, because there's so many different things that we experience in life. And sometimes this mind may forget.
Right.
So being able to write certain things down, experiences, that you had maybe at the end of the day or so, and just think about, wow, today was a good day. I didn't have to pull out the So being able to write down certain things so that we don't forget. Because again, we have the forgetting propensity as well. And so being able to recall and to always put on our cape so that way we can actually be most effective and efficient and responsible human beings in this world, actually contributing to society, you can say, even by one's presence. You know, you can learn a lot from another person, you know, in terms of what they do, how they handle certain situations. We can learn. Or you can also learn from what people do wrong. One of the things that I used to do growing up, my sister used to get in trouble a lot. She's 8 years older. So I would just look at everything that she did wrong, made a mental note. Don't do that.
Take this off the list.
Sneaking out the house? Nah, I'm not going to do that. Make a mental note. So therefore, my mom really didn't even have to whip me much or anything like that. She just asked me a couple of questions,
like,
and I was like,
I didn't do that because I learned here August 1992.
Right. So learn from someone else's mistakes and being able to make progress, you know, make quick progress actually, you know, instead of getting caught up in certain pitfalls, you know, or being stuck on stupid. You know how you have a record?
Yeah.
And it gets stuck on that one little track and just keeps repeating.
I know.
Oh man, what's that man's name? I can see his face.
Yeah.
Ain't no sunshine when
Somebody help
he's
us
gone.
remember this man's name.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Does it start with Bill?
it's not Marvin Gaye.
Oh no, man, it's not Marvin Gaye. You know that.
I do know that.
Is it Bill? I know it's not Otis Redding. Is it Bill Weathers? No, Withers. Bill Withers.
Withers.
Sounds Bill Withers.
Withers.
I don't know that song. Sounds good.
Sounds good. But no, you made a few points.
And again, just really brief. Sometimes we may think that we're hardwired a certain way, and that we cannot do certain things, but that's really not the case. That's the beauty of the circle of excellence. That exercise in itself is proof that just because we may think, oh, I'm stuck in this negative perspective or way of thinking, no, the circle of excellence proves that you're not really hardwired that way. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah.
And it sounds like yes, Bill Withers. Yes.
I was right. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
So, oh goodness, I lost my train of thought. Okay, but yes, these it's really beautiful because we have the ability to implement this in any part of our life, and sometimes someone can say, oh, "This is so simple," and
True.
Jeff Olson, Osteen, who wrote the book Slight Edge, which is an amazing book. Like, if anybody wants to make a difference or understand the value of time, Slight Edge is a wonderful book. But anyway, Jeff Olson mentions, he said there are certain things in life that are easy to do and easy not to do, but those easy things to do, if done, like to change a 0.0% a day, like make or 0.05% change per day, some type of incremental, very small change. Do that every day or every week, and just measure over 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years. Then those small, steady increases makes you metamorphose. And so this circle of excellence is a very easy thing to do and an easy thing not to do. It's like, oh, that's too easy.
Yeah.
You know, but to try it. The proof is in the pudding.
In the pudding.
In the pudding. And so we can do that. We can try that at any time. And so, but you mentioned some points that I thought were beautiful about the formation of a diamond, or even that of a butterfly. But a lot of us really don't think about how certain things in nature that are of value take time, pressure, and heat, or some type of extreme condition, maybe, to really allow us to experience the beauty of something.
Right.
And so the idea of a diamond, you can either have what can be a diamond or pencil sharpener or a pencil lead,
Yeah.
which are both useful,
Yeah, both are useful.
but one's more valuable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so these experiences that we're humbly trying to share will allow you to use these difficult situations in life in order to have a metamorphosis.
Let me give you another geological thing.
Do it.
I like my rocks and minerals.
I like my rocks and I cannot lie.
Is that when I was studying geology, every day I actually still study geology. That's why I'm able to talk about it so easily. But you take minerals, and when you put minerals on a rock tumbler, to be very clear, you can't just put any mineral in a rock tumbler, to polish them. You have to have equal hardness. So in other words, it has to be the most appropriate test, you can say. You can't just constantly do all the easy stuff and think you're going to get better. But sometimes we actually have to test ourselves, something that'll help get the rough edges off, polish everything nice and beautifully. You can have a diamond in the rough. You can have so many things in the rough. You can have a sapphire that's rough, rubies in the rough, where there's other minerals kicked around it. But when you can take those minerals and put them in a rock tumbler and let each other polish the crud off of the other, then they both make each other beautiful. So one thing that's cool about that is you can take two people. Sometimes we use the example, steel sharpens steel. So sometimes in the journey of life, on our own, it's not always easy to understand our strengths and weaknesses. We have cheating propensity, so we like to lie to ourselves. I'm just saying,
we are our biggest gaslighters.
We will gaslight ourselves. But when you're able to have someone that's like an equal friend or a partner, or someone that's an equal, then they can help point out certain things that you may not catch. You can help point out things that they may not catch, and it just polish each other and get sharper and better and stronger, Again, quoting Captain Planet, quoting the great philosopher Captain Planet, with our powers combined, like this. And so when people can come together and actually do this with their families, NLP, or with a spouse or a friend and so forth, then it actually really makes life sweeter, because then you're starting to strengthen that relationship that you have with that person too. And the relationships keep getting deeper and more profound. I was, what day was that? I think it was a Saturday. I was, taking care of some things, and I was here for hours just having a conversation about NLP and things of that nature with my mom. And it just, discussing those subject matters, and she shares something and I share something, and we're going back and forth, sharing different things, and it just not only makes the relationship that I have with my mother stronger, but then I'm learning so many different things from her, and she's learning so many different things from me, and then we're sharing and trading tools, you know, and then when we, you know, approach anything in life, now we have another perspective, you know, like, wow, my mom mentioned something to me, you know, that little pin that you put on your map, like, instead of run, but wow, maybe I can look at this and see how I can capitalize. I think that's the word. How I can capitalize on a certain situation, you know, and use it as an opportunity for growth. And so that's something that's beautiful when we work on NLP, and then especially when we can bring in family or friends, or you know, so on and so forth into that, and how we can grow. They also are growing. The tool belt is expanding to a tool chest. You know, and we're sharing tools, and it becomes a tool shed. You know, and the whole thing. You know, you have a whole warehouse of tools. You know, and so forth. So it's a beautiful thing.
And to someone that is a builder, their tools are the most important things to them.
Very important to them.
So as we're building our lives, having all these tools at our within our hands, within our reach, makes us extremely proficient in building relationships. And I'll say this thing, we'll wrap up as we're getting close to time, is that in the neurolinguistic programming book, one aspect that was mentioned, kind of in line with what we're talking about, or at least the general topic, that I want to make sure everybody has ability to grasp, is that it's necessary to have both that optimistic and pessimistic thought processes, because you'll meet people who are really good at setting goals and like, yeah, let's just do it. And you have those others that were just like, oh, I don't know about this. This is that. This is this problem here, that problem here. Have you ever thought about this? And both parties look at each other as, ugh, you know, like, like you're like, why are you like this? You know, and so it was explained that these perspectives are both really good, because that person who is pessimistic is going to see things that a person that's optimistic is not going to see or put in perspective. And the person that is pessimistic is not going to see things the person that is optimistic is going to see. And so the example was around a team being formed and wanting to find those persons that are pessimistic, those persons that are optimistic, and the proper leader is able to say, hey, my people, they won't say those who are pessimists, but those who are good at finding flaws, list all the flaws that are potentially there in this project. And those who can see the greatness of this, put all the ideas of greatness out there, so that as a manager, you can see, okay, these things we have never thought about, and these things we've never thought about, like by ourselves. And you're able to put those perspectives together and make that project one of the best projects, because you have multiple viewpoints. And there's nothing like having a different viewpoint.
Yes.
Because some people are raised in homes in which they only have rose-colored glasses. Their glasses may be aquamarine, they may be pink, they may be all these other colors. But by having multiple colors, multiple perspectives there, you're able to get a more well-rounded product.
Yes.
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 And go ahead.
I was going to say, with what you're saying, there's something that was very, very beautiful that you said, but you didn't say it directly. I mean, like, there's a word I was going to say. But what you're saying is so beautiful. There's two words that come to mind. The first word is compromise. And for the longest, I always thought compromise, compromise, compromise. But the better word to use is collaborate. So when you have those different perspectives, the optimistic, pessimistic, and everyone is bringing that together, meaning to collaborate, where you're bringing what you have to share and the other person is bringing what they have to share. Whereas when there is a compromise, it's we only will take certain things from you, but we don't want the rest, kind of a thing. Like you're compromising, in some way, shape, or form, or you're trimming away or removing. Only certain things are appreciated, but not the whole person or the whole, thing that's being brought to the table. So there's the aspect of compromise. So it sounds and it feels more positive. I'm sorry, collaboration. Collaboration, to collaborate sounds more positive. Where what if the whole world, we'll just start with this nation. What if the nation did exactly what you just beautifully described there? Where you could take all the different sides and everyone comes together and it's like, hey, let's, what's the good things about this? What are potential flaws or setbacks here? Let's put everything together. But to have someone in that leadership position with maturity and intelligence to be able to make proper discernment and how to bring everyone together, that's really what the world needs.
Yeah, and here we're trying to, outside of be able to talk and laugh for an hour, we want to help anybody who's interested in helping themselves be a leader in their own home, be a leader in society, because there's a lack of leadership, especially with the ability to properly discern and to understand like what is the best. And so thank you all so much for your time. We went over just a little bit. Now we can flex and fly.
Don't fly. Don't fly. Stay fly.
Stay fly.
Stay fly, but don't fly.
So for those, yes, please, if you do enjoy what you've heard and you think others may benefit, please like it, share it, and comment. That really supports us to know we're actually bringing value to everybody's life. So thank you so much. Happy Friday and have a good weekend.
Stay flexing.
Flexing.